I'm here in the northern Indian state of Ladakh, the magical land resting in the shadow of three great powers, India, China, and Pakistan. But beyond the flapping Tibetan prayer flags and the ancient palaces chiseled into the cliffs is a brewing storm. In recent years, Chinese forces have pushed deeper into disputed territories. They've built roads, observation posts, and even villages on land India still claims. And yet, none of this has been called an invasion. Inside Ladakh, the communities are caught in the middle. Traditional grazing routes used by nomadic herders are now off limits. Local political leaders, both Buddhist and Muslim, claim that the loss of political power from when Ladakh became a union territory has left them with fewer protections and no clear path forward. Lost media is on the ground to investigate what is actually happening in Ladakh and whether there is any real reason for concern.
China is trying
to get in our side,
On the eastern side, we have China. On the western side, we have Pakistan. Both are inimical to the India.
We had many issues with China.
It poses a big threat.
Yeah, China has been a threat always has been a threat for India,
But the China always do this thing.
They don't fight directly, They intrude.
Fishy or something not good on the border.
Now they are building new, road.
The Chinese were building, roads and infrastructure and everything,
We don't want to be under a communist regime,
We are saying that don't trust the Communist Party.
If that happened, that will be a huge problem for our nation.
Their intention is not good.
The Chinese always do some propagandas and always misleading and misinterpretation is.
Even China has occupied a chunk of land. Earlier it was a part of Ladakh.
We should have a very strong policy towards the China.
India will fight to the last, I think. India cannot give up Ladakh.
China is spending more than $50 billion on a railway through the Himalayas, connecting Chengdu to Lhasa, the capital of the Tibet Autonomous Region. This is the latest development in a huge construction spree along China's roughly 2,000-mile land border with India. Both countries have disputed the exact border for decades, but the tension has escalated in recent years as a result of China investing in extensive roads, heliports and airports, and expanding hundreds of border villages. To the east is the Brahmaputra River, which originates in Tibet and flows into India through Arunachal Pradesh. Beijing is constructing large hydropower dams upstream, including the massive super dam planned near the Great Bend. These projects give China significant control over river flow, turning water into a tool of leverage in cross-border diplomacy. Another concern for India is China's increasing air power along its border. It is estimated that China has more than 600 nuclear warheads, many of which could reach India. India, on the other hand, is estimated to be in possession of only 118 warheads. Despite these worrisome developments, Delhi and the Modi government has downplayed the significance of the tension. In fact, in some instances, they've outright denied it.
न वहां कोई हमारी सीमा में घुस आया है, न ही कोई घुसा हुआ है, न ही हमारी कोई पोस्ट किसी दूसरे के कब्जे में है.
Compounding Indian concern is the new nexus that has formed between China and Pakistan, creating a reordered power structure in South Asia.
China coming down on Pakistan's side, it sort of makes the whole security architecture in the South Asian region liable for re-evaluation. China and Pakistan feel both that they have to come together in order to enforce their writ on India. So to that extent, all that has changed is that whereas it was a 1+1+1 dynamic. It's now become a 2+1 dynamic.
It was against this backdrop that I headed out to eastern Ladakh myself to try and understand what was happening near the border. So we woke up this morning in Leh and we're driving east. We're heading out to the border territories close to the Tibetan border, or otherwise, the Chinese border. The landscapes have been absolutely stunning this morning. Ladakh's got a really otherworldly, almost extraterrestrial feel to it. So we've just traveled a few hours eastward from Leh this morning. We're at Changla Pass. We're at an altitude of 5,360 meters. We've climbed about 2,000 meters this morning and I'm really feeling it in the legs, in the head as well. This is the same height I was actually trekking in Nepal a few months ago. This was the height of some of the passes. So to be driving this is pretty surreal, but this region has some of the highest motorable roads in the world. And we've got a huge build-up of military here, as is common on the borders in India. We're heading closer and closer to the Tibetan border or the Chinese border. And I think that military presence is just going to become even more apparent. We've just pulled over for a little break at one of these Himalayan streams. The water is absolutely ice cold. This is straight off the Himalayan mountains. I'm using it as a bit of an opportunity to wake up because we didn't get much sleep last night. One of the things I love about India is its diversity in every respect, and I think India often gets a reputation for being overcrowded, over noisy, over polluted, but it's important to not forget that it's got these beautiful extremities, particularly as you get closer to the mountains. And we're surrounded by absolutely beautiful nature right now. We've just been driving along the highway here in eastern Ladakh and we got really lucky because we spotted a Chengpa nomad herding his flock of sheep, as you can see behind me. These Chengpa nomads are native to the Ladakh region and they're incredibly difficult to find. They're actually known as the guardians of the border, and they're one of the communities that have been heavily implicated by the geopolitical tensions between India and China. Our hope is to meet more of these nomads over the coming days and try to understand how their lives have been impacted and what their concerns are in relation to China. So there's a few hundred sheep in this Chengpa nomad's flock. They've all been herded that way, partly because I was chasing them, so I just did that nomad's work for him. But what we've got is a stray sheep, and of course it's a black sheep, hence the idiom, the black sheep of the flock.
nga lo get ni rama so strain taksa lo ipchu chachinle tening tatsik nga ja ibina nax kalas parto ma mangpo dukle jinnang ta yang nga ja gong la trauma chachinang te so mangpo jing yok met pasana nga ja ibina go khorte na na bina lu ya le tene yar pe ka nga ja ane sa yok na khorsa taksa nga ja sang tarsan kar mu jab je jab lo kur jab je no anum phana chanol an jab lo te sar la nga ja man chang aso ko jena buro man met ka ya le tene sangan golla jabo cherse ja mamang pot ka za tuk chang nga ja rabo desa ta te sang ma taksa nga ta cheni nga ta ngati sipi sang ma put pasang ne tene tur kulu nga ta cheni khate no zar tuk ya le nga ja tan
A really incredible chat then with that Chengpa shepherd. He's part of a multi-generational lineage of shepherds here, so he knows this land very well. I think it's so interesting to come and talk to the people who are most implicated by the tension on the border. He's just a beautiful, humble man, humble farmer, but his world is changing drastically. He's caught in the middle of a brewing geopolitical escalation between two superpowers, the two most populated countries in the world. One of the interesting things he said was that he was actually really comfortable living in India. I'm not sure what people think about all these border regions, but not everyone is dissatisfied with the Indian government. So that wasn't something I was necessarily expecting, for him to actually speak so positively about the government. He's definitely, it appears, cautious about China. He would prefer to be under Indian rule than Chinese rule. So behind me here is Pangong Lake, the famous high altitude lake here in Ladakh. Situated at 4,350 meters, its claim to fame is it's the highest saltwater lake in the world, but it also plays a significant role in the geopolitical tussle between China and India. The lake itself straddles the line of actual control. 2/3 of it is in the Chinese side and 1/3 of it is on the Indian side. Now in July 2024, China actually constructed a 400-meter bridge connecting the North Bank to the South Bank. And this raised fresh concerns on the Indian side, because that bridge allows China to move personnel and equipment around a lot more efficiently, and it would aid any potential military operation in the future. Satellite imagery from October 2024 revealed a newly discovered Chinese settlement being constructed near Pangong Lake. The settlement's location behind high peaks further enhances China's strategic advantage, obscuring the site from land-based surveillance equipment. India and China's historical tension reached fever pitch in the 1962 Sino-Indian War, a brief but intense conflict primarily triggered by a dispute over the Himalayan border, particularly in two regions, Arunachal Pradesh in the east and Aksai Chin near Ladakh. The conflict severely strained India-China relations and exposed shortcomings in India's military preparedness. There has been a handful of small skirmishes since, the most recent of which was the Galwan incident in 2020 in Ladakh.
They murdered, assassinated 20 soldiers, Indian soldiers.
This was the most serious military confrontation between the two countries in over 45 years. The fight reportedly involved stones, iron rods and nail-studded clubs in freezing high-altitude conditions at around 14,000 feet.
Lots of military, both side military eyeball to eyeball happened in the border area. That's kind of face-off was the major face-off that I heard or see in my life. So after that, we cannot trust Chinese, we cannot trust PLA. So we have a different, relation with the China since 1962. But after 22, things completely change.
We're in the Chushung Valley. We're actually on the site of the Rezang Memorial. We just visited that war memorial. It was a pretty heavily surveilled affair. We were escorted around the whole time, but the Rezang battle was a key battle in the Indo-Sino War of 1962. India, of course, gained its independence in 1947, and just 15 years after gaining that independence, when it was just getting up off its knees, the Chinese invaded to try and assert their supremacy in this region. But what I really want to draw your attention to is what's behind me. That hill at the top, the peak, is the LAC, the line of actual control that exists between China and India today. And at the foot of that mountain, you probably won't be able to see it, is a meeting point. And that is the meeting point where the brigade commanders of China and India meet on an as-needs basis to resolve territorial or border disputes. And we were told by a military person just then that the last meeting was in fact 3 days ago. So that shows just how alive and tense and heated this region still is. The recent build-up of military and surveillance infrastructure, along with the rise of patrol activity, has impacted the ancient nomadic communities of eastern Ladakh. Many of these herders have lost access to traditional pasture lands.
My peoples are purely nomadic, and their livelihood is solely dependent on the livestock. So it's very hard because it's already situated at 14 to 15,000 feet. We have lost many grazing land since 1962. If we go to 1962, we are nomads. When used to go many different valleys, now we are not able to go that valley. So all the valley got restricted due to the new no man's land, and that the salami-slicing method of expanding their territory.
On our excursion near the border, we met some of these impacted nomads. This limitation on grazing is destabilizing the traditional economy, which is based on yaks, pashmina goats, and sheep. Entire communities have reported displacement, forced migration, and cultural erosion. Since the 1962 war, China has continued to advance its territorial claims through incremental encroachment along that line of actual control in a strategy known as salami-slicing.
Salami-slicing method to expand their territory is not new for us. It has been happening since 1962.
China is believing in, step by step. They come 10 kilometers inside and go back 5 kilometers, like that,
This incremental encroachment has pushed China's effective control closer to Leh, the capital of Ladakh, complicating India's logistics and defensive positions in the area. Ladakh is a live example of how modern territorial aggression can be executed without bullets, but rather bulldozers and boots, one thin slice at a time. However, not everyone is concerned by the situation. A little further from the border, in the town of Nomads, people saw the benefits from the new infrastructure.
एक्चुअली तो हम एयरपोर्ट बना तो बहुत खुशी हूँ कि गांव वाला हमारा गांव वाला छोड़ो तो चांगथांग के लिए तो फिर ये बहुत खुशी की बात है। तो इसमें हम डेवलपमेंट करना चाहिए, एक्चुअली तो आना भी चाहिए, हम बोर्डर लैंड है डेवलपमेंट तो रोड के बारे में बात है, गाँव में बहुत फैसिलिटी हो चुका है।
पहले 2019 से पहले इधर हमारा इधर जो नेटवर्क का इशू था सर जी, रोड भी नहीं था। 2019 के बाद फिर अभी इधर दमजोक तक आप लोग को देखा होगा, अभी दमजोक तक हमारा जो हाईवे बनाया हुआ हर चीज़ का हमारा फैसिलिटी अच्छा मिल रहा है।
So as we've traveled through the eastern parts of Ladakh, I've encountered an array of different viewpoints, and I've got to say I'm a little conflicted. When we were closer to the line of actual control, the villagers and the shepherds were more concerned about the development that's been occurring and the Chinese encroachments across the line of actual control. But as we've moved away from the border, it's a different perspective on the ground here. The villagers are actually quite content, indeed they're very happy with the added infrastructure that the military have brought in. The roads have improved, there's new employment opportunities, the internet has improved, so they feel more connected to civilization. I just hope that their short-term satisfaction isn't blinding them to the potential longer-term ramifications geopolitically and environmentally. But China is not the only concern for Ladakhis. In 2019, Ladakh was made a union territory after being separated from neighbouring Jammu and Kashmir. Initially seen as a step toward focused development, the move has since sparked frustration on the ground. Local leaders are demanding constitutional protections and the restoration of political autonomy.
Previously, we were part of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and we had, because of the Article 370 and 35A, we had many safeguards. For example, our land were protected and jobs, everything was protected. And after the formation of UT, we lost all our safeguards.
All Ladakhis, those who are living here in Ladakh since centuries, they all are concerned about their safeguard of land, their identity, their culture, and their language.
Our demand was UT with legislature. So after the formation of UT, then we came up with two groups, Apex and KDA.
Ladakh got everything in the shape of UT, but at the cost of their identity, their culture, their traditions, everything they lost with getting this UT.
Ladakh is atypical, it's totally difficult. Our, living is different. Our food habits are different. Our cultures are different. The way the way we celebrate our festivals is different. We celebrate Losar, which is the New Year of Buddhists. We celebrate together. We celebrate Eid, but we do it together, which you don't see in other parts of my country. So, and then we have to preserve that.
To protect the rights and duties and culture of the people, the government should do something, whether it could be in the shape of 6 rule or any genuine parliamentary act.
Unless and until we get a legislature, so that the people's representation from the grassroots level of Ladakh, unless and until we don't get it, then it will be a disaster for the future of Ladakh. I'll tell you very honestly.
For everyone, those who believe in a religion, those who believe in democratic system, those who believe in peace, how can be things good if China comes over here,
Ladakh is both physically and culturally unique. Its landscapes are some of the most beautiful I've ever seen, extra-terrestrial in their design and completely humbling in their vastness. The peaceful coexistence of Buddhists, Muslims, Hindus, and Christians is a rare and harmonious phenomenon. But what looms large over this melting pot of culture and tradition is a red dragon to the east. The world's 2 most populous countries continue to size each other up across their over 2,000-mile border, and Ladakh, the peaceful kingdom of pluralism, is caught right in the middle of it and may very well be the first casualty in any future escalation.